Hi, today we are going to look at the book of Proverbs as a whole as an example of canonical interpretation. So, wisdom is waiting. Let's go. In chapters 1 through 8 of Proverbs, we come across an extended introduction. In this introduction, a mother and father work together to train their young son in wisdom. Lots of great teaching here, good stuff about how to live well. But you can tell that something's building. Something is going to happen, and something does happen in chapter 9. And in chapter 9, we come across the key conflict. Yes, both wisdom and folly are presented as women. Wisdom is a woman, folly is a woman, and they're both after our young man. They want him. Who will the young man choose? Then in chapter 9, these two women come out to greet our young man. Talk to him about who they are. And this is a fascinating text. Both of these women, wisdom and folly, are in the city. Both of them speak from the highest place in that city. Both of them sound very alike. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read you a sentence that's almost exactly the same from both of them. The woman wisdom says, "Let all who are simple come in here," she says to those who lack judgment. The woman folly says, "Let all who are simple come in here," she says to those who lack judgment. It's exactly the same thing. But the woman of wisdom goes on, "Come, eat my food and drink the wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways, and you will live. Walk in the way of understanding." The woman folly says, "Stolen water is sweet. Food eaten in secret is delicious." But little do they know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of the grave. The boy now has to make a choice. Two women want him. The wise woman and the woman folly. So, what happens now? From Proverbs chapter 10 all the way to Proverbs 31:9, this is now proverb after proverb. A collection of proverbs. But is it just a collection of proverbs? No, it's in a book. It's in a book where the conflict just introduced was, who is our young man going to choose? The woman who is wise or the woman folly? So, this, my friends, is the wooing of wisdom. This is the woman wisdom saying, "This is who I am. This is what I'm like. This is what I bring to you. This is what my house is like." And it's not just random. There's an order here. You'll notice if you read these proverbs that they begin with a lot of proverbs with buts. Do this, do this, do this, but don't do that. Do this, do this, do this, do this, but don't do that. Wisdom begins with knowing what is right and wrong, what is good and bad. You have to know what's good, You have to know what's bad. You have to know what's true. You have to know what's not. That is how it starts. This is good, but this is bad. But wisdom goes on. In Proverbs 12:9, you begin to see Proverbs where instead of but, you read better than. One of my favorites. A dry crust with peace is better than feasting with strife. So true. I'd rather have popcorn and lemonade with people that love each other than the finest meal on the planet with people who hate each other. It's not fun. And the food's not that great when everybody's mad. So, the Proverbs can teach us also how to judge things. Which is better? Which is worse? But Proverbs go on. We come across a fascinating pair of verses in Proverbs 26:4 and 5. Let's read together. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you will be like him yourself. Answer a fool according to his folly, or he will be wise in his own eyes. So first, don't answer a fool, but then answer a fool. What am I supposed to do? Well, guess what? Sometimes you say something. Sometimes you don't. How do you make that choice? Boy, this is wisdom. These are tough things. You can't fight every battle. You can't right every wrong. Paul said, fight the good fight, not every fight. But sometimes you have to speak. And the Lady Wisdom can help you. She recognizes that wisdom is situational. And you need to act differently in different situations with different people. Super important lesson. Super important. And finally, there's one more step. The Proverbs end with wisdom about wisdom. The final phase of wisdom is to be able to discuss and talk about and understand what wisdom is. Now, before we come to the final section of Proverbs, I need you to do something for me. I'm going to show you a slide, and I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. I want you to stop during that countdown on the slide, read it, and think about it. There is something on the slide that is wrong, and I don't want to tell you what it is. I want you first to think about it. So, slide, stop it, think about it, and when you're ready, push play. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So now let's look at this slide together, okay? The heading reads, Jesus questioned about fasting. It reads, they said to him, John's disciples often fast and pray, and so do the disciples of the Pharisees. But yours go on eating and drinking. Friends, that's not a question. That's a challenge. These guys have an attitude. They want to fight. Okay? But Jesus' questioned about fasting doesn't really convey that, does it? Wouldn't Jesus' challenged about fasting be a more accurate heading? I think so. I say this to point out to you that headings are not scripture. They're interpretation. They do their best, but people make mistakes. So I actually prefer readers' Bibles that don't have headings, but if you want to read them, you can. Just be careful not to let them sway you. Now, with this in mind about headings, let's take a new look at the end of Proverbs. So, in Proverbs 31, verse 10, wisdom about wisdom is over, and you will see the heading, Epilogue, the wife of noble character. What is an epilogue? An epilogue is usually something not quite attached. It's sort of a little bit different than what's there, maybe takes things from a different perspective. But that's a heading, like we saw in Luke. I suggest to you that if you just take that heading out, what is the natural flow of this book? A mother and father teaching their son wisdom. His key choice is to choose between the woman wisdom and the woman folly. The woman wisdom lays out a magnificent life. She's brilliant. She's wonderful. And at the end of the story, the young man marries, chooses wisdom. He chooses the wise woman. A wife of noble character, who can find? He found her. He found her. He found the wise woman. If you read this description of the wise woman, you can find references back all through the Proverbs. It's just a summary of what she offered that our young man now has for himself. And to finally wrap the sort of whole thing up in a nice bow, the last two verses. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting. A shot at the woman folly. But a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Proverbs 1:7, the beginning of Proverbs. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, as well as the end. And that is a canonical interpretation of the book of Proverbs as one whole. That's it for today. Next week we're going to start a new series, a jet tour through the whole Bible, and we'll start out with Genesis through Deuteronomy and take a look at that as a whole. So thanks for joining me. God bless. My name is Martin McCorkle.